my channel. I'm so excited to be back, y'all. I think I only literally put up one video, like, what was it, the end of May or beginning of June, and now it's July 2nd. My bad. So you guys can tell, like, I moved. Sorry if you can hear the fan in the background. I don't have an AC in this room, so I'm using a fan, and it's hot, y'all. If you're on the East Coast, I think actually probably the whole world, the whole country right now is going through a heat wave. Anyway, so I have to have the fan on. I'm so sorry. I'll try to edit it as best as I can, but yeah. Okay, so this video, I'm gonna go through all the books that I read in June. Even though I was busy, I was still reading. Y'all know I bring my books everywhere with me. I was listening to a lot of audiobooks too, so I'll go through that too. And yeah, so I'm gonna start with the physical books. So in total, I read, I think 8 books in June, which it seems to be like the sweet spot, like that 7, 8, 9 books. It just works for me. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the books, the physical books that I have with me that I actually read. Okay, so I'm gonna start with in no particular order, like in terms of like faves or not, but okay, so this was one of my favorites though. So this is Bitter and Sweet by Rhonda McKnight. This book just came out, I think on like June 12th or something. So I got it as an ARC to post and review on Instagram like a couple days before the release, like to help like drum up the excitement and awareness about the book to like my audience and stuff like that. So it was really nice to do that, because I actually read her other book that came out like last year, The Thing About Home. There's The Thing About Home, and I love the way Rhonda McKnight writes. Even when I read the Thing About Home last year, I was like, I want to read more of her books, because I saw she has a lot of books that's, you know, been out over the years. So Bitter and Sweet is about it's basically like a sibling, it's a women's fiction book. So so basically it's about sisters who are summoned home. It's set in South Carolina. So they're summoned home because their grandfather fell ill, so the grandma called them all home. They're all like spread out through the state or through the South. It's three sisters, and no, sorry, 2 sisters. Why am I thinking 3? I think I'm thinking About Home. I'm sorry. So it's 2 sisters. Yeah, so their grandmother calls them home because their grandfather is ill. The grandparents basically not raise them, but you know how it is, like when your grandparents sorry, I got a text message, I'm sorry. I forgot to go on Do Not Disturb. Anyways, so the grandparents basically raise them, or mostly help to raise them. And yeah, so now they're like in their 20s and 30s. One has a kid and is a single mom. And then because her spouse like tragically died, and then the other one, she is married with no kids, but she's going through marriage trouble. So it was really good. Like the sisters, they have like a deep, it's so sad. They have a deep rift. You found out why. It's like your sisters. Why aren't you guys, you know, like why aren't you guys in each other's lives? But I highly recommend this. I highly recommend, so Bitter and Sweet is this one. It just came out in June 2024. And Rhonda McKnight, she has other ones. Her most recent other one that I know of was The Thing About Home, and I read that last summer. Loved it. Her writing style is whoops, sorry y'all. It's so it's not really that thick of a book, but her writing style is just so easy, and it's like she just captures you. I love how she writes. She writes so beautifully. So I highly recommend Bitter and Sweet. I gave this one 5 stars. Okay. So the next one I read was a tandem read. So Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. So because y'all know I'll be on Spotify. So this one was a tough read in terms of like, the subject matter. I mean, there's like a lot of dialogue and stuff, so I was kind of struggling with just the subject matter. It's around chattel slavery time, things like that. So I had listened to the audiobook along with it. So I would read a couple pages, and then when I'm out, like going to work and stuff, I was listening to it, listening to the audiobook. And both ways were sad, but I was digesting it better on audiobook. So if you're like me, and when it comes to slavery or just brutality of Black people, it's like a real trigger for me. I get really sad, and because this book was heavy for me. Like, and I know there's a lot of people I know who love Yellow Wife, love it, but I was scared to read it, and I knew it because when it comes to chattel slavery, brutality, racism, Jim Crow, just abuse of Black people, it really weighs on me. And I always say, like, I feel like it's like my ancestors reminding me, like, I think I don't know, I think it's something spiritual that really comes over me, like it makes me really sad, like you guys, it's been how many years, and I've never watched 12 Years a Slave because of that reason, because I know that subject matter, it's important to know, but I'm really sensitive to it. Like, I'll be in a depression for days and days and days just thinking about it. So I knew that going in reading this, but for some reason, like, I was just in the mood to read it. I've had it for a while, and I was just in the mood to read it. So yeah, I do recommend it. But if you're like me, and stories around or content around like slavery makes, like, triggers you like that, like it does me, maybe, just wait until you're in the right mood. That's all I can really say. But I do recommend it. I rated it, I think 4.5 stars, but I don't even think a star rating really matters when it comes to stories like this, to be honest with you. So yeah. I do recommend it though. It's an important subject. And y'all, I'm sorry I'm looking busted. I just realized my edges are like, whatever. Whatever. But yeah, Yellow Wife, I do recommend it. So this one, I think this was like actually my first read in June. We'll Never Tell by Kayla Perrin. Y'all, I love is it a genre, subgenre, whatever, of Black thrillers. I realized that from, sorry, I thought I saw myself. I realized that from reading this, and then I think, what was it, a few months ago, or maybe last year, I read L.S. Stratton's Not So Perfect Strangers. So when I read this one, I was like, oh, it gives me that feel. Oh, and I just read When No One Is Watching. Is that what it's called? By Alyssa Cole. It just came out. Anyway, sorry. Tangent. Yes. Okay, so this one is about okay, so this is about so there's a group of college girls, like sorority girls, they're Black girls in I feel like this is set in like the early 2000s, maybe the mid 2000s, like 2010-ish, 2008. Like, that's the feeling I was getting from this. So anyway, so these are sorority. This is about a set of sorority sisters, Black sorority girls, in like upstate New York. And so one of them is, so there's a set of 3 girls. They're like best friends, and one of them is, she's not in the crew, but she's she's pledging for the sorority, so she lives in the sorority house. Or she's not even pledging, she's already in it, but she's one of the lower ones, like she just got in. But y'all, I'm not a sorority girl, so I think they're called neophytes. I could be wrong. Don't come for me, please. So she's known as, like, you know, a man stealer. I'm trying to say it in the most PC way possible. So she goes after one of the main girls, man, basically, and the story goes from there. It's a thriller, so I don't want to get into the way. Just look at the cover and see what it tells you. I recommend this. I gave this 5 stars. Not me giving a thriller 5 stars, but I did. I do recommend We'll Never Tell by Kayla Perrin. And I have been, so I got this off of Book Outlet, and I have been looking at Book Outlet to see if there's any more Kayla Perrin books. I'm like, the way she writes, it like draws you in. I was locked in to the story, and I could not stop. Everything we were doing, it was like, mind you, this is in between packing up the old house. So anytime I tried any little chance I got, I was sitting down like, okay, gotta open We'll Never Tell. Going to work, everything at my desk. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is a thriller. Like, I finished this in like 2 days. So if you're in the mood for that and something that's gonna hook you in, read We'll Never Tell by Kayla Perrin. Okay, so another one that I read is a little different from what I usually read, but this book has kept calling me. It's called Aesthetica by Ali Rowbottom, and I was kind of here for it. So I've been on Fable. It's like a Goodreads and Storygraph type of app, like where it's like I guess like you can do virtual book clubs. You can, like, you know, track your reading, like get your reading stats and stuff like that. So it's basically it's Goodreads look like Instagram basically. So I saw, I think one of the one of the book clubs that like I joined on there is called Women versus the Void. And I was like, what does that mean? And it's basically they read books like this. So Women versus the Void is like I realized it's like a little subgenre. So it's like books like Piglet, Aesthetica, I'll do a video on like those books. I'm like, I like these books. It's like women who are, the subject matter is like women who are like, you know, coming unhinged from stuff. Oh, you know what book that I just read that I reviewed for y'all? Not Sugar Baby. The cover looks like Sugar Baby. I'm gonna be irritated now. I'll put it somewhere right here as I'm editing this video, because I'm gonna be irritated. I'm irritated that I can't remember what it's called. But it's like that. It's like they went through something or whatever, and they're trying to come out on top. I'm like, I am a Woman versus the Void girly. If you know what I'm talking about, please comment below. But so, anyways, long story short. So Aesthetica, it falls into that subgenre of books, and I'm into it. So this is about, in short, basically, this is about, the main character is Anna. So she is like an Instagram girl, you know, Instagram baddies. She fell into that world at 19. So the story is set like right now, she's like in her 30s, and she fell into being an Instagram girly at like 19. She got a whole bunch of plastic surgery over the years, and now in her 30s she's trying to reverse all the plastic surgery that she got in her early 20s when she wasn't even done developing yet. You know how the story goes. So it's like this trial program called Aesthetica that she is going through, like, to try to get basically all this plastic surgery reversed. Can she do it? We don't know. But this was like, I think it is like 3.5 stars, only because it kind of dragged in certain parts, which is surprising because it's a short book. But it's like I think some things flew over my head because I'm just not in that world. Like, y'all see, I'm like natural and stuff. Like, so some things flew over my head, but I did like reading about her mental and how she fell into that world and like how it affected her mental health and stuff like that. So I do recommend that. Recommend this book if you're like deeply into that. If you're a woman versus a boy girly, let me know and give me some recs, something easier. My bad, you guys. My son came in here after his nap, so I have to pause. But anyway, so I think I left off. Actually, yeah, I left off on Aesthetica. So the next physical book that I read is Summer on Highland Beach by Sunny Hostin. So this is the third book. I don't know if it's the last book. I don't know if she's gonna keep going with the series, but this is the third book in the Summer on Sag Harbor series. I think that's what it's called. Oh no, so sorry, Summer on the Bluffs. So the first one was Summer on the Bluffs, second one was Summer on Sag Harbor, and then this one is Summer on Highland Beach. Y'all, I love this series. I know it's Sunny Hostin and then she has like a co-writer, but I love this series. It's like those typical beach reads like your mom and grandma and aunties and stuff would be reading like growing up, like Ellen Hildebrand. I know she's like the GOAT like main beach read writer of like our time, but so like Sunny Hostin, she's in that game and her books are really good. I love them. These three are phenomenal. I read all three of them. So I read the Bluffs, the Oak Bluffs one and the Sag Harbor one last summer, and then when I saw that the third god sister was getting her own book in Highland Beach, I was like, I gotta get it. Like, it just came out like this month. I think it came out actually beginning of June. So yeah, I bought it quick because I was ready to read her story. So anyway, so this is basically about, so it's three god sisters. They're not blood related. No, they're not blood related, but they were all three of them were like taken under the wing of basically an iconic like black couple, like an older black couple. They like each were in their lives like for each sister's book, like you get to see like how they got into they're like the older couple's lives, but they're like a wealthy older couple. They take these three girls under their wing, like, you know, send them to college. They become their godparents. Like everything you could think of that a fairy godmother, a fairy grandmother would be, like she's that for them. And each of the three sisters get their own book, and now this is Olivia's book in Summer on Highland Beach. And the cool thing about the three of these books, each of these beaches, or like, you know, like Oak Bluff, Sag Harbor, Highland Beach, they're like either the entire town or area or region is like historically black, or there's like historically black neighborhoods like within each story. Like, so it's like the sisters have their story, but it's like the actual setting. So like Oak Bluffs, Sag Harbor, and now Highland Beach, like it's like it's like their own the area's own story too. So which is cool. You get to learn about, I knew nothing about these. I only knew about Oak Bluffs because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like that 90s 80s movie with Jada Pinkett and Lorenz Tate, I think it's set in that area, like in the Inkwell. Am I lying? Or is that Michigan? Or Massachusetts? You guys, I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I knew about Oak Bluffs from something. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I basically rated it 5 stars. This whole series is 5 stars for me. It's just like a really good palette cleanser. There's deep stuff going on, but it's still like, I think they're like light reads, and I enjoy it for that. So, I highly recommend this. I recommend all 3 of the books. So start off with Oak Bluffs, Summer on the Bluffs, by Sunny Hosted, and then this is Summer on Highland Beach, the 3rd one in the book. I mean, in the series. Okay, so Blood at the Root by Ladarion Williams. Y'all, I listened to that on Audible at the beginning of the month. I loved it. 5 stars all around. So this is like a YA fantasy. It's a YA fantasy, and it is about, it's basically if an HBCU was magical, in the magical realm, and then the main character is Malik. So he notices when he's a little kid that he has these powers, and obviously it seems like he didn't really have anyone to guide him, or not. He didn't have anyone to guide him or like talk to him about, okay, this is what's going on, like you have these powers. He's like 7 or 8. And then when we start reading the story, he's like 18, 17. Actually, he's not even 18. He's like 17, 16, 17. And no, I'm lying. No, he is 18 because he's going into college years. Yeah. Okay. So he finds, when he's like 17 or 18, he finds out that he has his whole family. He thought he was an orphan this whole time. So he finds out that he has a grandmother out there, and she's been looking for him and she wants him. And then like finding her, he finds a bunch of family, and they have connections to this magical HBCU that will, help guide him to like use his powers correctly, learning about the history of how these Black folks have powers and stuff like that. So to me, if you liked Legendborn, which I loved, you would like this. So I recommend it. I love fantasy, but for some reason, like YA fantasy just does it for me, especially if they're Black. I'm into it. So Blood at the Root by Ladarion Williams, I highly recommend it. And that's what I meant to, I made a note to say this in this video. The audiobook, I've never heard such quality production on an audiobook before. It's not just somebody reading to you. There is like sound effects there, and then like the mute, like the production, like when it's a tense moment or a scary moment, or like when it's something happy is happening. Like, you guys, listen to the audiobook. Get the book too. Support our Black authors. I don't know if he's indie, but support our authors. But you guys, listen to that audiobook. I don't know if there's a difference between like if you do Audible or Libby or Spotify or something, because I listened to it on Audible, so I don't know if it was an Audible exclusive thing, but there was like real production going on. Like you would think you're watching a movie, because the narrators, they're not just reading the story, which is fine. Like they're not just reading the story. They're like really acting it out, and there's real like production sounds going on. And I was just into it. I ate it up. I finished it quick because I just couldn't stop listening to it because it was just so good. Like that production, 8. Okay, so Blood at the Root, read it, 5 stars. I loved it. And the other one was, it was actually a physical book, but it was a library book. So this next one is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I got this from the library, and I had to immediately return it to my neighborhood library because we were moving, so I had to just get all my library books back to that neighborhood library branch. Anyways, 5 stars. I gave this 5 stars. I don't know if I was just in a happy mood. I was just giving out 5 stars. But I would read this again. I would. So I read the physical book. Like I said, it's from the library. So this is a thriller. And it's about, our main character's name is Lucy. Sorry if I'm sweating too, because I turned off the fan because I listened to the other clip and before my son came in here, and I could hear the fan in the background. So sorry, but I'm leaving that in. Y'all know it's tough to get time to record, okay? So just turn it up, put on subtitles, you'll be alright. Anyway, so Listen for the Lies about Lucy. She's the main character, okay? So at the point that we start the book, this is all in the synopsis. I'm not giving this away. At the point that we start the book, is 5 years after she is accused by like her whole like small town and like news media and everything of killing her best friend. Okay, so at this point when we start the book, she is living in, so this is happening in Texas, but she's living in LA, and for some reason she's called back to Texas. Oh, because her grandmother, okay, so her grandmother, who y'all are gonna love if you read this, her grandma is like the best character. Oh my gosh. And she's like the only one who like wholeheartedly loves, adores, and supports Lucy. And it is so, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful to read, to see like, okay, she's being accused of this horrible thing, and I don't want to spoil anything, but okay, but Lucy's a lovable character. You'll read it. I mean, if you read it, if you read it, you know, and if you're gonna read it, you'll see it. Lucy's a lovable character, and you're like, come on, like she didn't do this. Come on, like I'm not spoiling nothing, but you know. It's just like, who did it? Because it's like, Lucy obviously didn't do it. Come on. Like, if you read it, like, Lucy is such a lovable character. She's oddly relatable. Just like with her, she obviously has anxiety, like severe anxiety and things like that. Well, I mean, obviously she's accused of murdering her BFF. But yeah, so at the point that we start the story, she goes back to Texas because her grandma calls her home. She wants her to be a part of her grandma's like doing some type of celebration. I think it's like a milestone birthday, maybe like her 80th birthday or something like that. But yeah, so the Listen for the Lie title comes from, there's this guy who does true crime podcasts, and he's been doing a podcast series on this particular murder of her best friend's murder, and he's been interviewing everybody in the town, like kids they went to school with, or I guess they're adults now, but like people they went to school with, Lucy's family members and things like that. So that's where Listen for the Lie comes in, because you have to really, it's really cool because you read like the podcast transcripts, and it's like you, the reader, has to really like read to see like, okay, who sounds fishy or whatever the case is. So that's where the title Listen for the Lie came from. And I loved it. I loved Lucy. I'm just going to say this. Lucy and her grandma are two of the best characters I've ever read. And this is a thriller. So I recommend it. So the next one was an ebook. It's a Kindle Unlimited. I'll put it on the screen. So this is fairly new. Yeah, it came out May 22nd. So this is new. Rhythms Blues by Kimberly Brown. And this was such a cute book. I gave it, what did I give it? 4 stars. So this is about Rhythm Baker. It's a romance. It's about Rhythm Baker. So she's a successful occupational therapist. So she's a doctor, and she's with a rapper, but he's like a real like successful rapper. It's not just, oh, my boyfriend's a rapper and he's handing out mixtapes in the back of his car. No, he's a real rapper. So her and Raheem been together for a couple years. She moved out to LA for him. They have a house together, and so she's doing her doctor thing, her occupational therapy thing, and he's a rapper, and you know, he starts taking her for granted. Things happen, and I'm not spoiling it. Things happen. She leaves him, and she ends up with dealing with or dating whatever the main producer of Raheem, her ex-boyfriend's new album. So it's a little messy, but it is a good love story. So if you like mess, I love mess, and like romance, I think this would be a good option, especially if you're just in a romance mood, period. So I recommend that. And then the last book I read, I think this is the last book I read in the month, actually, period. Yeah, it is. Okay, so the last book I read is, y'all know my fave. It's a thriller. It's The Housemate is Watching by Frida McFadden. And I'll put the image up here of the book. Oh my gosh, guys. She's like one of my favorite authors. That's it. Frida McFadden. Sister Frida. Miss Frida. I'm giving you your flowers. Like, you are one of the best. Like, and the quality and the quality and the quantity. The amount of books that she's putting out. Girl, are you okay? I mean, in a good way. But it's like, wow, she has a lot of stories in her head, because the Teacher just came out, right? Yeah, The Teacher came out in like February or March. Eat that up. And then, so this is part 3 in the Housemate series. I think it's the last book in the Housemate series. The Housemate is Watching. So this came out in June. And then I was reading that I probably saw on TikTok, that she has a new one coming out called The Boyfriend or something like that in the fall. So like October, November. Girl, she's like, let me write these down before I get a writer's block or something. I don't know, but I loved it. I love The Housemate is Watching. I was seeing on Instagram, like Bookstagram, that some people weren't liking it, but whatever. I like what I like. Her formula, it works for me. It's a popcorn thriller. You jump in, and this one did like I did like the first half, and I think this is some people's critique. The first half is slower, because I feel like she's reintroducing you to Millie. This is how she is now, because it's a time jump from the last one. Millie is the main character of this whole series, the Housemaid series. She's the original housemaid. Just like now she's married, she has kids who are like, they are preteen age, you know, and she's a mom now basically in her 40s. So it's basically like 15-20 years since, yeah, it's like 15 or 20 years since the first 2 books. So like, yeah, her and Enzo they're grown now, grown in their 40s, with preteen kids, and they just bought a house. So yeah, we have to get acclimated, guys. Things aren't gonna pop off right away. So I did like that. It's kind of like a world building, like reintroducing the main characters, and this is how they are now, and you get a compare and contrast of how she used to pop off when she was younger. If we're in the first 2 books, Millie was about that life, and now she's like, look, what's she, 43 years old? I'm tired, and these kids wear me out. Anyways, long story short, I loved it. I ate it up. It was good. I don't want to even spoil anything. If you read the first 2, you know the formula. I'll say a little bit. Okay, so now Millie, like I said, she's older now. Yeah, and her kids are like preteen. I think like a year or two apart. They're like 10. They're like, are they like 8 and 10 or 8 and 12, something like that. But they, they're still young. They're elementary school. So Millie and Enzo, they just bought a house in the suburbs, like in Long Island. So they're moving from New York City to Long Island to be in suburbia. And weird things start happening. The neighbor, actually both of her new neighbors are weird. One is a set of it's a married couple, and then the other one is an older woman with like a young son, who, like the same age as Millie's son, like that 7 or 8 year old. I think they're like 8 years old. But yeah, so things are happening. And then the couple, their name is the Lowells. So they have a maid. And yeah, I don't want to say too much because things are happening. Somebody dies, yada yada yada. So just read the book. I highly recommend it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it, and I need to go back to there's still some books in Frida's world, in Frida McFadden's backlog that I still need to read. If you've never read a Frida McFadden book, I recommend either, if you're not ready to do a series, start with Never Lie. I feel like that's a good jump in to be like, oh my gosh, she's so good. And then maybe even if you just do The Housemaid too, you don't have to stick with the series, because if you don't like The Housemaid, you can read something else. But yeah, I recommend it. I give it 4.5 stars. I'm singing its praises. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I hope nothing problematic ever comes from Frida McFadden. If she said something problematic before, please don't tell me. Because I just love her books. Love her books down. Anyway, so those are all the books that I read in the month of June. I'm so excited, you guys, that I have my little, this is like my husband and I like office, my little reading corner. I do need a second shelf, like my little plant. I don't know if I'm gonna maybe sell this ladder shelf and like do 2 of like traditional bookshelves. I feel like those will fit more. But y'all, this is her, and this is my new little chair. And yeah, so anyways, long story short, thank y'all so much for watching. Please make sure you're liking, subscribing to the channel, and yeah, and comment like, what are you reading for July? What was your favorite book in June? Leave an emoji if you want. And yeah, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye y'all. Millennial peace sign.